Hey guys, today I'll be trying a new style of commentary, and I think I'll be going back to my old intro. So let me know what you think of both, and I'll roll the video. Hello and welcome. My name is Interjection, and today I'll be casting a best of 3 between Nature Phoenix and SoldieR for Round B of PK Clan Tournament 4. Knockout stages have begun, the group stages have ended, and of course the loser of these games will be eliminated from this tournament. The winner, however, will progress to the next round, which is round C. This is the first game, and it will be played on the Great Plains, as you can see. The next game, in my next video, will be played on Sanguinay, and if a final game is required, that'll be in another video as well, and it will be played on Siberia. So, in the north of the map here, we have the British player. In red, his name is SKWZZ Phoenix, aka the one and only Nature Phoenix, or just Phoenix for short. All the same person. A very good player, certainly one of the old pros who have come back to this game to compete for the cash prize of $1,800. Of course, if you were very good at the game before, why wouldn't you come back and play for a decent amount of money? I have a lot of respect for these players who have come back, and it's very nice to see these old names playing the game once more. We will switch over to the south of the map. Here we see the German player as blue. His name is SoldieR, another very good player. Plays Age of Empires 3 from time to time, was good back in the day. Currently plays Age of Empires Online, and Age of Mythology is a very good player as well in those games too. Very refreshing to see a player who is competitive in multiple Age of Empires games. I do not think he plays Age of Empires 2, though correct me if I'm wrong. And also correct me on any of the points I brought up, if I am wrong, though I do not think I am. He has put down an early market, as you can see here. Got that 10% bonus to food collection rates. The Hunting Dogs upgrade, which costs 50 coin and wood. Though getting that upgrade does slow you down to the colonial age a little bit, since of course you do have to collect a bit of extra wood for the house there, which you do need, since of course you would not be able to train any more settlers nor send the settler shipments. The German get a 2 settler wagon shipment, which is the equivalent of 4 settlers, and is therefore the best home city shipment in the game in Age 1. The Germans also get a 3 settler wagon shipment in Age 2, which is the equivalent of 6 settlers, and is therefore the best Age 2 home city shipment for settlers. Gives the German a very nice economy early on. We'll switch over to the British player. Phoenix here has only built the one house, which I'm surprised at, because of course, you know, has 65 wood there. Could have collected a bit more wood and added in a second manor, because of course British players do receive a free settler each and every time they fully construct a manor house. It is also quite common to see British players building 3 manor houses. Only the one there, though. Not making use of the starting resources. Going to be able to age up very quickly, though, as you can see here. Though, we'll see what he chooses to do with that. Perhaps he is concerned about the German players' early aggression. Germany can be quite aggressive early on if they choose to be. And, of course, that is an option open to the German player. Though, doesn't really call for the fact that he's aging up so quickly. Perhaps he has something else in mind. He is aging up with an outpost and 200 coin, of course, the governor politician. We'll see what he chooses to do with the outpost. He could place it forward and be very aggressive, though I find that unlikely. No, more likely to build it in the back of his base here. And, well, this is on the front, where he would be able to protect some bison. Though, British players can be aggressive if they choose to be, of course, not the safest option, since British are a much better civilization at booming. Of course, you might catch your opponent off guard. Could use the forward tower as a home city spawn point for military units if you wanted. Always have those options open to you. But, as I said, unlikely. We'll switch over to SoldieR, though. And, as I said, Germany can be quite aggressive, though I doubt this player will be, since he has built a market. The German can send 8 crossbowmen, and he could do so. Perhaps if he built a tower, he could, of course, switch his settlers to wood sooner, get 250 wood, and build a forward tower, and then ship 8 crossbowmen to it. Also build a barracks in the colonial age, train 5 crossbowmen. You'd have a decent amount of crossbowmen, and then you could perhaps do some damage in your opponent's base here. Stop his settlers from collecting food from these huntable animals. Do a bit of damage, always nice. Most likely not going to do that, though, as he does not have a forward tower. He could, however, perhaps go on the boomy route in the colonial age. Of course, he does have that 3 settler wagon shipment. You're definitely able to keep up with the British economy with the German settler wagon shipments, and then could add pressure later on in the colonial age. But he's put up a trading post here, so this suggests to me he has no intention of staying colonial for very long at all. Wants the XP there for, of course, more home city shipments. Might have intentions of going up to the fortress age. We'll see what he does. Aging up with 400 wood here. We'll switch over to the British player, though. And we see Phoenix putting up a bunch of walls. This is quite uncommon. Going for a full turtle here with a shell included. I don't think a lot of players realise that you can turtle without a shell. It's not actually very common to see a shell at all, but here, building one. 700 wood as his first home city shipment. A very standard thing to start with British is, of course, they do like to build manors which give you a nice amount of course, you do get free settlers from them, as I mentioned. With some of that wood, he has, of course, built 5 pikemen. Looks like he's going to go siege down this trading post, as, of course, even though he can't see it, he doesn't know there's one there. He can see in the top right here that the blue player has a trading post icon next to his name. Going to use these 5 pikemen to come siege it down. Now that he has pikemen on the field, of course, going to start training some longbowmen. Longbowmen, of course, very weak to cavalry, but they can very easily defend behind these walls. They have a very long range. And, of course, if he trained the longbowmen first, if the German player sent his free Yolans, of course, the German player here, he's got 2 free Yolans there. Of course, you get 2 Yolans, which are these cavalry units, for free each and every time you receive a shipment. He could have sent them into the British player's base and killed the longbowmen as they pop out, so it is safer to build your pikemen first, which he has done. But choosing not to siege that down, perhaps he's worried that the 2 Yolan are backed up by other units, abandoning that. We'll switch over to the German player once more. Here he has sent 3 settler wagons as his first home city shipment. Perhaps he's going up with a semi-fast fortress. Looks like he's trained a few crossbowmen. But he's now sending 700 coin as his second home city shipment, which suggests to me that this is definitely a semi. Of course, going to use the nice economy which the settler wagons grant him. Then go up a little bit later to the fortress age, and then put on a very powerful fortress age army. Of course, you do have access to those military unit shipments. The trading post definitely going to help out there. Could also train a decent amount of strong units with the economy he's built. We'll switch over to the British player. He has sent 5 settlers as his second colonial age shipment. That's a very standard British build here. 700 wood followed by 5 settlers. A nice way to boom. Just building longbowmen here. Looks like he's going to defend in his base. Going to camp his base. Here we see the German player bringing these, of course, Yolan in. Try and get a few settler kills. I do not believe he killed any. He has, of course, pikemen over here to defend against the raid. Now sending 600 wood. Very boom heavy here. Of course, he could send 700 coin. Go up to the fortress age himself. Maybe use that coin to train some hussars if he built a stable. Though not doing any of that. Just going to boom all day long. 600 wood here. More manor houses. Has a very even split between food and wood for longbow pike production, which of course cost only food and wood. Looks like here the British player spent quite a decent amount of time trying to get a Carrera de Bois treasure, which is a French gatherer here, French settler, which he's going to lose to soldiers, military units, the 2 free alarm. I think quite clever of soldier. Saw him get the treasure. Of course, you do get these notifications, and probably scouted the treasure, so sent the Yolan over there to kill the explorer and the unit there, get some free XP. Deny the settler as well. Switch over to the German player soldier here. He is going up to the fortress age here with the exiled prince. Gets you there very quickly. Of course, if you're sending 3 settlers in age 2, then that is going to slow you down. You could go up, of course, with the marksman if 700 coin was your first shipment, though it was his second shipment. The marksman would give you 6 skirmishes, but here, instead, doesn't want those. Going to go up with 3 settlers. Not a bad idea. Now sending 8 skirmishes from his home city shipment, training some skirmishes as well. And once those arrive, of course, he would then have a decent army with which he could push out, which would be backed up by more military production and also shipments. The British player now knows that, of course, since he is in the fortress age, he's not going to be seeing any aggression for, a few moments, perhaps 30 seconds or so, whilst the shipment is being sent. So has pushed out to kill the trading post, but does not dare to go much further. Of course, the German player has built a nice economy with the settler wow, what am I even saying? The settler wagons. And, of course, has a military unit spam. which he can send from his home city. Going to be quite formidable, difficult to deal with. We'll see what he chooses to do. I think some of the problems SoldieR is going to encounter is, of course, he doesn't have a cannon shipment. You do not have 2 cannons as German. 2 falconets. Going to make it a little bit difficult since, of course, longbow pike, very weak to cannons since they are both infantry. Whereas a decent amount of pikemen definitely going to be able to fend off Uhlans. And then if he tries to bring the Uhlans in up against the crossbowmen, sorry, the longbowmen on the retreat, since of course the pikemen will then get close to any cavalry units which are going to go in to try and kill these longbowmen, he's going to have to run away. And the longbowmen have such a long range, they're going to be able to shoot back for quite a long time before the cavalry are out of range. So I think here, one of the issues he will have is, of course, the fact that he doesn't have cannons. A lot of food there, not much coin. I'm a little bit concerned since resource management is very important. Now that he's in the fortress age, he needs to be spending those resources since 1,000 idle food, no matter how on top of idle settlers you are, if you're not spending your resources, therefore you're not really doing them, they're not being productive, it's not a good idea. Switch over to Phoenix. Just happy to mass longbow pike all day long. Just going to defend, very macro intensive build here. Looks like he's going to prepare to age up, has 700 coin on the floor. 700 wood was his first shipment, followed by 5 settlers, then 600 wood, all for a very big boom. Could have sent 4 settlers as well for an even bigger boom. Chose not to though, sending 700 coin, going to go up to the next stage. Perhaps is a little bit concerned about the military mass that the German player has. Of course, if he continued to boom, then he might not be able to make as many military units. And of course, he wants to get to the fortress age, where he will then be able to upgrade his large mass into veteran units. Of course, there is a time when you have enough units, there is a point at which it becomes very cost effective to go up to the next stage to get the veteran upgrades. And also, of course, you then have access to shipments as well. Looks like the British player, sorry, the German player now pushing in at the about the 10-minute mark here, sieging down the wall, though he's not going to get far. He's chosen not to siege the wall entirely, since of course longbowmen do outrange skirmishers, and you know, whilst he's sieging that wall, he's going to lose a lot of units, so it's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. I do think he's pushing very late, given the British player plenty of time to boom, and this could be an issue for him later on. I did say the German economy does keep up with the British quite well, but only for a while. Eventually the British will overtake you, so you do need to kind of boom early like he did, but then push in a little bit sooner perhaps, though he did go fortress. But I think, obviously, the more time you give the British player, the more difficult this is going to become. The British player going up with the Adventurer, who will grant him, I believe, something like 5 or 6 longbowmen. I can't actually remember how many. But just happy to mass all day long. As I said, really just going to camp his base here. And the entire time that we've seen Phoenix come back to this tournament, all the games he's played and all the games he's been practicing have just been him being macro-intensive, sitting in his base, just going to boom all day long, as I keep saying. Switch over to the German player. And is he going to push in? Plenty of units now, but it is very late. Would compare their economies here. We see 31 settlers for the German player, though he does have 8 settler wagons, so 31 plus 8 is of course 39. Has 1 in production, so 40 settler economy, compared to the British player, who has a 46 settler economy. You might think 4 settlers isn't that much, though. As I said, Germany certainly able to keep up, though the British player still has plenty of manors which he can build. Also has the 8 settler shipment here which he can send as well. Of course, the British player here, looks like a fight is about to get going. Here, the longbowmen soon going to be upgraded by the Yeoman card, which increases their ranged attack by 4. And of course, as I said earlier, if the cavalry come in to kind of attack these longbowmen, they're not gonna, you know, since there are so many pikemen, they might only be able to get a few hits off before they have to run away. And then, of course, the longbowmen have such a huge range, being upgraded even further by Yeoman, that they're just gonna, you know, the cavalry just take so many shots on the way out, and that's just not good. It doesn't even matter if longbowmen don't even do that great damage against cavalry. Still gonna do a lot of damage here. Of course, if the skirmishers are in range, then he will be targeting those, or at least, you know, trying to micro-select groups of longbowmen to kill skirmishers. Of course, skirmishers do have a ×2 multiplier versus pikemen, so it's important to kill the skirmishers so that the skirmishers cannot kill his pikemen. SoldieR pussyfooting around, not really going for an all-in here. We switch over to him. I don't know what he's waiting for. adding in a stable here. Now he's in the Fortress Age himself. Well, obviously he's been in the Fortress Age a while now. Going to get the Yelan upgrade, Veteran Yelan. Perhaps he will then push. Lots of food here, a lot of coin as well. Perhaps he's intending to spend some of these resources at the stable. Of course, resource management is very important. We'll switch over to Phoenix. 8 settlers now on the way. Going to boom even further. Perhaps he feels that he is in a safe enough position to do so. Here, though, the pikemen out of position. Looks like the cavalry are going to get some damage off on these longbowmen here. Of course, he now has, obviously, veteran longbowmen. Veteran Yelan, not quite yet. His soldier researching that. Yes, he is. Here, though, as you see, the pikemen now coming in to do some damage. Here, though, I think not a great position to be fighting in. Of course, he does have a wall here. He might as well make use of it. Perhaps put the longbowmen behind the wall where they would be safe from the cavalry. And then could use the longbowmen just to shoot at the skirmishers. Though, instead, losing a lot of pikemen here. He has put them into cover mode, which means they take less ranged damage. Though still, I think he could have saved a lot of pikemen by not needing to put them into combat there. As I said, put the longbowmen behind the wall. And the pikemen as well. Though both of these players are far better than me, so I won't critique too much. First time still free to express my opinion, I suppose. If SoldieR can train a lot of cavalry in a short space of time, then he could do a lot of damage here. Since, of course, British player does not have as much anti-cavalry as he did, meaning those longbowmen are vulnerable. Of course, all the German player needs to do, SoldieR just use these skirmishers to focus down the pikemen, and then the pikemen will not be there, and then of course there'll be nothing to counter these veteran Yelan. We'll switch over to the British player, and as you can see in response he is training. We see 10 more pikemen joining the fight. Also has a pikeman in production at both of his barracks, so you can pop 5 more. Knows he doesn't have enough anti-cavalry and is choosing to add more in. Of course you see here these cavalry not really being able to do much damage. Of course pikemen do have a 9×5 multiplier versus the cavalry. And as you can see, the British player's economy coming to total fruition here. Very far ahead, I imagine. 49 settlers. Switch over to SoldieR. We see he has 38 settlers plus 8. So, a 46 settler economy. Still fairly even, but you have to remember the British player still has more settlers and has had more settlers for a while, and there is a score gap. 197 to the British player, 160 to SoldieR. Here, though, the cavalry going all in and losing those to some of the pikemen, though, doing a little bit of damage to the longbowmen, though I do not think he can continue to fight this. Here their settlers are gathering, and even if he does take a few shots on the settlers, they are kind of acting as damage sponges, which only works in the British player's favour, since if you think about it, for each and every unit in a fight, you have kind of an exponential curve effect, if you imagine a graph, on the damage which your units can do. And if your units are shooting settlers, they're not doing damage to your opponent's units, and you're kind of losing out on that curve effect. Here we see Phoenix adding in 2 cannons. Definitely going to be needing to train a lot of anti-cavalry to protect those, because he's losing those quite quickly. Though the longbowmen certainly doing a lot of damage. Pikemen definitely needed. 2 cannons going to do a lot of damage, I imagine. We see here, though, not very many pikemen at all, and there is a decent amount of cavalry there. I think Phoenix a little bit out of position, too far away from his base here, does not have the anti-cavalry to push out this far, and I think if SoldieR does a good job of killing the pikemen which are there, his cavalry will be able to bring down all of those longbowmen. Also 2 cannons here, that's not so good. Of course, those are very, very weak to melee damage. They have 75% ranged resist, but do not resist any melee damage, so cavalry can do a lot of damage to them. Here, the British player losing his entire army. Those 2 cannons totally unprotected. Surprised that SoldieR has not capitalized on that and sent units over there, though, of course, they might die. There weren't that many cavalry units and the longbowmen, since there plus were some pikemen there as well. Perhaps didn't want to risk it. Here, though, SoldieR losing a lot of the skirmishers. Of course, skirmishers aren't really going to do a great job against cannons, since cannons do 100 damage multiplied by 3 versus longbowmen. Sorry, skirmishers. Those cavalry there, though, could go in and kill them, though there are more pikemen here. So he's coming in now. He should have done earlier. He probably would have got them, and he's now noticed the pikemen, so he's chosen not to do so. Tried to get close, but then saw pikemen and thought, no thank you. So, that is over. And the British player has 188 score, the German player on 160. And you see the British economy, even though they were fairly even in terms of settler equivalency, the British player definitely getting further ahead since he does have more settlers, and he's had more settlers for a longer period of time. Certainly the score kind of shows this, 195 and 171 to blue. One score in Age of Empires 3 is equal to 100 resources. We'll switch over to Phoenix. Phoenix has sent, of course, 8 settlers. Probably very far ahead now. He could now sending Fencing School. Fencing School going to decrease the train time of all of his infantry by 40%. That includes the archers. They are infantry in Age of Empires 3 for you Age of Empires 2 players. Since he has the economy now to support a lot more military production, he's going to keep up with that by being able to train the units faster. Switch over to SoldieR. And again, has a lot of cavalry, but I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to do. Of course, a lot of pikemen here, though those cannons are now undefended. Nothing really protecting those cannons. A few free Alans can come around and get them. Perhaps it would have been better to keep some of the pikemen closer to the cannons, though, as we saw earlier, Phoenix, British player, being able to bounce back very, very quickly, do a lot of damage. His economy definitely being able to replace his units. This fight does look fairly even. I do think the British player's pikemen will bring down all of SoldieR's cavalry. It's still not good that he lost the cannons, though. SoldieR now has over 1,000 coin. Though he is running out of huntable animals on the map. As I said, had a very bad map. And in my opinion, could have asked for a rehost earlier on. Of course, still has to remember resource management. Not able to really spend that coin. His next shipment is coming up, and he could send Black Riders, which cost 1,000 coin. We'll see what he chooses to do. Of course, sending Black Riders is a very nice way of spending that coin quite quickly. Switch over to Phoenix. Now sending Refrigeration, which increases food gather rates by 20% from mills, berry bushes, mills, everything. Just a very nice card all round, which is why you see it in 1v1 decks, or even team game decks. A very boom-heavy deck here, actually. Adding in a second town centre. Has even more settlers rolling away. Putting up some more manors as well. I guess this is the last of the manors. Yep, 19 out of 20 there, almost at his build limit. And I think the British player's economy really going to take off here. If the German player wants to stay in this game, he's going to have to do a lot of damage to his opponent's settlers very quickly. Though I do not think Phoenix is stupid. He will, of course, not let that happen. Here, you see the German player's mass is a lot smaller. British doing very well. Take a look at the German player. About to receive his next shipment. Has a lot of unspent resources. Perhaps he will send Black Riders. There it is, Black Riders. But I think not really doing a great job of spending his resources this game. You know, SoldieR only plays occasionally. Is a good player, but perhaps out of shape. Certainly was very good at Age of Empires 3 a long time ago. Still is, though. Don't get me wrong. Losing some settlers here to a few pikemen. I believe those are in response. Of course, we see the one crossbowman there going down. SoldieR using one crossbowman to harass the settlers, which is kind of annoying. Means you do have to send these pikemen over here, and now, as you can see, Phoenix has kind of forgotten about them. I imagine he will add those to the rest of his army momentarily, though. Though if he doesn't, only works in SoldieR's favour. SoldieR now calling Minutemen. Looks like he's hoping to combine Minutemen and Black Riders to save the game, though I do think that this is over. I think what he's waiting to do is, of course, send Black Riders, and then once they arrive, he'll then resign. It just shows that, hey, this is what I was trying to do. Here are my Black Riders. Kind of out of pride, I guess. Even I do that if I'm sending a merc shipment. Town Centre going down, and as you can see, German really not able to do a lot here. Of course, might be able to neutralise the army here, because the Ulan's coming in, but losing all of the Black Riders and the British economy very, very far ahead now. Of course, only 21 settlers for German, lost a lot. Phoenix on 70. 245 score points to the British player, 106 to blue. Thank you very much. The next game will be out tomorrow, hopefully. I kind of wanted to make a lot more videos for the tournament, and also I've been trying out a new style of commentary. Let me know what you think, though. I will see you next time.